Joining me now, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, Democrat of Michigan. Thank you for joining us tonight, Congresswoman. We're starting off with the president and the presidential race, I should say, in Michigan, where the latest poll, Quinnipiac poll, shows Trump ahead of Vice President Harris in the Great Lakes state, with Trump at 50% to Harris at 47%, which we note is still within the margin of error. Both candidates badly want to win Michigan. Congresswoman, Trump was in Detroit this week. More on that in a second, but the vice president will be there next week for an interview. What's the state of play looking like to you in your home state just 24 days before Election Day?
Reverend Sharpton, first of all, it's always good to be with you. And I'm just going to be very honest with you. I don't believe either candidate has won this state yet. I think it's going to be razor thin. I think it's going to come down to who votes. And I think either candidate can win this race right now. And it, quite frankly, is worrying me.
Now, staying with Michigan, Congresswoman, your largest city, Detroit, is in the midst of a hard-fought economic comeback. And this week, Donald Trump warned that the entire country would resemble Detroit if the vice president wins in November. Of course, he said this while campaigning in Detroit, which offended many Michigan Democrats, including the city's mayor, Mike Duggan, who credited Detroit's turnaround to Trump's replacement by President Biden and Vice President Harris. As he tries to win your state, what are your thoughts about Trump's habit of insulting communities like Detroit with large black populations, even when he needs their votes?
So, Reverend, I was actually there because I'm on the board of the group that he spoke to, and they're a nonpartisan group. They try to have bipartisan support. It was difficult, but because many of them asked me to go, I went. And in that room, I'm going to tell you, it looked like it was very spontaneous to me, just the way that he insulted Milwaukee right before the Republican convention. And it angered a lot of people, including myself. He needs to see Detroit, see how it has come back, the grit that it has. We have had so many successful events, including the NFL draft, and people were stunned at how great it was. Young people have moved downtown. We've just opened the train station. New people are moving in there to work. Detroiters, I was born in Detroit. When people ask me where I'm from, I still say Detroit. I think you heard the real Donald Trump on Thursday, and I think he made a serious mistake. He insulted a lot of us.
Well, and you have all the sporting events coming to Detroit, and in parts of the city that are trying to rebuild. You know, I head National Action Network, Reverend Charles Williams II, doing a great job there. It's just totally, in my opinion, targeted. But let me go to here. Kamala Harris has been able to improve Democrats' standing with black voters since she entered the race. But new polling from the New York Times shows her struggling to reach the same level of black voter support President Biden did 4 years ago, and that could hurt her in swing states like Michigan. Nearly 8 in 10 black likely voters say they're voting for Harris, according to the poll, but about 15% say they're voting for Trump, a 6-point increase from 2020, and that includes 1 in 5 black men. And it's that deficit that had former President Barack Obama specifically admonishing black men to support the vice president this week. But I wonder, some are saying that if he's chastising a group that has overwhelmingly supported Democrats for decades, if it could backfire. Some critics of Obama's message have suggested. I don't agree with it. I think that he should challenge them, but there have been others that differ. What are your thoughts?
So I want to say something. I think it's on all Democrats. I've talked to a lot of young black men. I try to be with, I try to meet with people on a regular basis. And actually, Jim Clyburn was here last weekend and met with my Ministers Alliance from IPSI in Ann Arbor, and I quite frankly was stunned at the number of young men who expressed their concern. And quite frankly, their message to Democrats was, you take us for granted. Donald Trump talks to us directly. And Jim Clyburn talked about it in another meeting, how someone had said Donald Trump sent them an economic stimulus check. But then Jim Clyburn went on to give them the nitty gritty of what the Biden-Harris administration really had done for them. So again, we've got to do a better job of communicating. And one of my young ministers said, this is it. We don't see a change in policy or see people talking the policy. And I said, can I come to your church? And I asked to go to his church after the election, so they know that they're seeing us after the election. And he said, come before and come after. So I think it's a message to all Democrats. And it's the same. In 2016, I told you Democrats weren't talking about trade. And that was one of the reasons Donald Trump was doing better. We need, all of us as Democrats need to hear what's being said. Don't take them for granted. Hear their fears, hear their issues, talk to them, and make sure they feel included.
And I agree, and come after the election, after you get the votes, but also give the record. Black unemployment down under Harris, under Biden-Harris, black-white wealth gap. And look at Trump. His court killed affirmative action, killed student debt loan, killed voting rights. I mean, that's not chastising people. That's giving the record. I think that's a bum rap on President Obama. But before you go, I want to get to the breaking news tonight that physicians have deemed Vice President Harris to be in excellent health after the White House released her medical records this weekend. Trump said he would release his medical records 2 months ago. That hasn't happened. But in response, his campaign referred to a vague letter posted to his Truth Social account in November from Trump's self-described personal physician, along with reports from Texas Congressman Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who treated Trump after his July assassination attempt, all of which say that the former president is in excellent health, but without specifics for the oldest major party candidate in our history. Should he have to release his records now, Congresswoman? And should this be a bigger campaign issue given his age? Since they made an age issue out of Joe Biden, where's all of the hollering and screaming about the oldest candidate in U.S. history that won't release specific health records?
Reverend Sharpton, that's exactly what I was going to say. They were the ones that were demanding that they see more health records on Joe Biden, what was being hidden, accusing him of having ill health. Look, if you're going to run for president, you're going to be transparent. You've got to be transparent about everything. And we do need to see his health records. People, doctors, I'm not a doctor, but doctors I know and respect and have national prominence have raised questions. I think it's legitimate to ask both candidates to release their records, and both candidates should be releasing their records.
All right. Thank you, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell of Michigan.